definitely gonna be my longest video. I was thinking, I was like, maybe I should like cut it and make it into like 2 videos. Have a part 1 and a part 2. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But I'm definitely not cutting anything out of it. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Creators Connect series. My name is Luca, but you can call me that camera guy. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your love and support. I truly appreciate it. If you are new here, please do consider subscribing if you like this video. In today's episode, we're joined by a saxophone player from Canada by the name of Angelo. We talk about some really amazing things in the episode, one of which is, has music gotten better as we have technologically advanced, or are we losing the quality of music to history? So just sit back, relax, and let's connect with Angelo. All right, sweet. Thank you so much for, again, joining and being a part of the series. It does mean a lot, and it does go a long way in creating that diversity I'm trying to bring across on this platform, on this show. So we're going to jump straight into it and ask the first question, which is, what led you down the path of music? Tell us about that story.
So I actually come from a very, I would say, artistic background. So not exactly like music per se. It was more like visual arts, photography, and fashion, and etc. That's kind of what my family was known for. Because I'm not from Canada. Like, I was born here personally, but my family's all from Italy and the west, and the west of France, I believe. So yeah, like my nonno, my grandfather was a painter. He painted churches in Strasbourg, Metz, and even Forbach. Yeah. And that's kind of what he did. He painted churches all there and everywhere. And then when he came here, he kind of would do murals and stuff for people's houses and etc. And sometimes even cathedrals as well. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, my mom was a visual artist. Like, she had a very she has a photographic memory, so she's able to draw or paint people as they look, almost identical to what they are, regardless of. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, my mom is very talented in that perspective, but it's weird because I also have a family that's very mathematical. So that's on my dad's side, and they're all like construction workers, like all the finance guys and stuff. So growing up, I had music in my life, but not really, and I wasn't thinking anything music related. It was actually going to be more industrial design, architecture, stuff like that. Yeah. I was
so different.
Yeah, I was led on to going into something like that because I was very good at drawing, and I could envision things in a way that most people really, it takes a lot of time. Like, for instance, like I even made this. I don't know if you can get it in the actual thing, but I made this, and I like designed it and everything. It took me it's just a side table for my mouse and everything. Yeah, and I even made one of my music stands, like solid wood. I even
No way.
Yeah, I even had to reconfigure the actual the gearing in the back, and I had to make it from scratch from wood. Because sorry, just small fun facts. Just because.
Keep them coming.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I even make myself like furniture all the time, just because because I find like there's a lot of things I need that I can't necessarily get. Like, I even made myself an instrument. I play. Do you know the cajon?
Yes.
Yeah. So I actually made myself one of those. I don't have it with me. I wish I did, but it's in my basement.
That would have been cool to see it.
Yeah. Well, I would say give me a sec, but I don't want to do that. Yeah, I know. But long story short, yeah, I came from this like architectural design kind of background, and I thought I was really going to go into that. And what happened was I was in my high school band class, and I was playing trombone at the time, right? I never touched the saxophone at this point. I was playing. I was not very good. I understood I wasn't good, and then my buddy one time let me try his actual saxophone, and I said, "Are you sure I can try this?" He goes, "Yeah, not a problem." So the first time I put my hands on the saxophone, I was like, "What's the buttons?" Like I asked him these questions and stuff, and it took me 5 seconds, and I'm like actually like starting to do stuff with it, and I'm like, this feels really comfortable compared to what I was doing. Yeah, because what I was dealing with before, I don't know if you know trombone too much, but basically it's just a tuning slide, right? You have to have a very good ear, and I cannot sing, and I have terrible pitch relevance, or I used to at least. Now I have a bit better like pitch perception, but yeah, before I literally like. If I was trying to sing a C, I'd be singing like I don't know, like a Z. You know what I mean? Like it was completely off.
Z. There's no Z.
Sorry, just using like non-music letters just to state a point of how bad it was. But
that's so funny.
Anyways, so when I went to saxophone, obviously you still have to have a decent pitch relevance, but the notes are there for you for the most part. It's not like you're having to find the note by going up the slide and down the slide. So, when I did that, I was just like, this feels a lot more comfortable. I was actually like able to at least speak my mind through it the way I wanted to, more than I was with the trombone. So I dedicated, I think, about 5 years. So this is my 5th year playing saxophone.
Wow.
I've dedicated the last 5 years to trying to I started the first 2 years on my own. Then I was taking actual like classes and private teaching from people in Canada, and in the region I'm in. And I've been playing for the last 5 years, and I didn't look back because like I didn't see myself really doing anything else. I mean, the design thing was cool, but it wasn't something I was like as touched upon. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't something that I went, okay, I would love to do this today. My mind was always going towards music. It was really weird. So that's why I started all of what I've done so far. Like going from just learning saxophone to learning clarinet, to learning flute, to learning drums and etc. and percussion, and now learning production and everything and all the values of that, and also like film music and all this other stuff, and like video game music, so to be able to go from literally, I started with like no experience music from like I think the age of like 15, 16 to now being 22, and actually having a somewhat of a decent career so far with music, and it's only growing from what it is. So yeah, it's kind of a short, long story short, kind of speech to how I started and how I was brought up.
No, but I can really resonate and connect with you when you're talking about like it didn't really fulfill you, the architecture kind of thing, like. But I look at you now, and it's a skill that has come in handy. You've been able to build a bunch of stuff and put the skill to good use, but it doesn't fulfill you as much. And I think I feel the same way about some of the things I do and I study. And I'm like, I mean, finance definitely does come in handy. Marketing definitely does come in handy, but it doesn't fulfill me. It's not something I want to pursue, So I definitely applaud you for pursuing something that definitely fulfills you and keeps you happy. It's like no point in like living the rest of your life in a position or in a place where you're just like sad and miserable all the time,
No, and exactly, and like and to add on to a point quickly, like I still do design pretty often, like it's not something I've pushed aside completely. I still do it from time to time, just because it is somewhat enjoyable, but I never saw myself as like a full-on career in it. Like sometimes I try to incorporate like my other artistic views and artistic points of reference with like with music, if you know what I mean. Like I'll sometimes sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually like design clothing depending on like a song, you know what I mean, or I'll and kind of like the ways it kind of like it speaks to me. Or with my buddy, like when we're filming together, when we're doing videos and stuff, he has a vision for things that I can respect and understand, and I kind of like help contribute with him, and like basically we have our own views, and it ends up coming together. So I try to incorporate my artistic perspective in a bunch of different things, but mainly I'm trying to source it through music, if that makes sense.
Okay, my next question will be, what's the biggest benefit and biggest struggle of being an independent musician in your experience?
Right. So I'll start from the con perspective first.
Okay.
So I would say the biggest struggle about being a musician and being an independent artist, at least from my view, if you don't know the business side of things, it's very, very, very hard to get through. Another con I would say is like, at least from what I like, and this is all personable kind of things I've dealt with. This isn't exactly every independent artist or musician. I would say at first the money's a little tight when you don't know what you're doing. Also, it might seem somewhat hard to start, if that makes sense. Now, when I'm talking about the business thing, it's really, you need like any kind of form of business, especially when it comes to marketing, finance, anything in the business perspective really, really contributes to how you're going to deal with things as a musician. Like for instance, like me, I had to build up my profile on Instagram, right? And on Facebook. Now that might seem somewhat pointless to people, depending, but to me, what that does is it gives me credibility. It gives me some form of, it gives me a currency that can only be found through a social context. And it actually ends up pushing my business and everything with my music a little bit further on than it would if I were doing it without any social media, right? So I would say, and business can also come from the finance thing too. So I'm not going to go into that yet. I'll go into the benefits now. The benefits of being a musician is you have your own time to deal with, right? And that can also be a negative depending on how you perceive it, right? Because I know musicians that have a lot of time on their hands, but they only do the gig to gig thing. You see what I'm saying? And not saying that that's a bad thing, but at least in Canada, I'm going to talk Canadian dollars, not US. But from a Canadian perspective, we make about $50 per gig sometimes, sometimes $100. Like it all depends, right? But if you don't have that business side and you don't like take it upon yourself to really push forth, you're only going to really make like $20 to $50 a gig, right? And that's not a lot if you're doing 3 of those a week.
It's not.
So what I found as a benefit is because I have so much time, I don't treat it like obviously I treat it like an occupation because it is my occupation. But I don't necessarily do it 9 to 5. I'll do it whenever, is beneficial to me. So like in the morning, I have a whole like thing. I have a whole, how do you explain it? Alarm clock system on my phone that has me waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then from 9 to 10, I'm just relaxing in my room, going on Instagram, seeing what's trending, basically looking and researching on my social media platforms to see what's popping and what's not, kind of thing. And then from like 10 to 10:30, I'm working out. 10:30 to 11, I'm eating. And then 11 to 3, you know what I mean? So I have this whole game plan set routine that I kind of put myself through purposefully because I need that system or else it'll break and I won't get enough done. You see what I'm saying? So I'm grinding with musicians. Like I'm collabing so much with people that if I didn't have that kind of like structured out time,
Yes.
I wouldn't see anything through it. So I would say the time is a really crucial thing for music, especially because you can do so much with it. Because you have 24 hours a day. Maybe you're only up for, let's say, 12 to 13. But, you got to make most of that 12 to 13. You can't just be sitting down saying, oh, I wish I had more time. Yeah. Right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to really be on that grind. You have to be in the persistence and be with the determinants of what you're wanting to do. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, but also a brilliant thing about being a musician is when you're an independent artist, you're actually classified as an independent business. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because, I don't want to get in trouble. But basically, as an independent artist, you can classify yourself as an independent musician, and depending on certain curriculums, if you actually hit certain targets every year, you can actually write off things, right? Which not a lot of musicians actually know. And most musicians make over the certain amount you're actually supposed to make in order, like most people do, in order to actually be classified as an independent business, right? But none of them actually follow through with their taxes on that. They just think, oh, I'm in this tax bracket, that's it. They don't think, oh, I make over this, I should be able to write off things. And what that's done for me is I've been able to write off my gas. I've been able to write off all the expenses that I've needed. So within boundaries and everything, I can't write off like every single thing. Like obviously I can't write off my house or like, you know what I mean? Like, but it has to be things that are contributing to what I do as a musician. So when I bought my saxophone, I wrote that off, right? My mic, I wrote that off. You know what I mean? My computer, my phone, you know what I mean? These are things that I use for my business. So that's why I'm able to write them off. You see what I'm saying? And those can actually end up becoming high numbers. So as an independent artist and musician, that kind of adds up and becomes a really good asset to have.
Yeah.
So another thing about, I don't know the best thing. I would say, personally, for me as a independent artist, I have the freedom that I want to do things, not just with time, but also with what I actually want to do with my career. You know what I mean?
Creatively, yes.
Creatively, yeah. Mm-hmm. Not saying it's an easy road. It's definitely tough. Like any other, let it be multimedia or let it be any other kind of artistic platform or anything really. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all tough work, but you just really need that determinant. So I would say like the main benefit is like the tax write-offs and everything, and also being able to be an individual with your time and with your personality. Yeah.
100%. I love that. Okay, so I realized on your social media that you've got an album coming up, and that got me really excited. So please tell us what to expect from this album. How many songs are on there? What kind of sounds to expect? Are there any collaborations? Things of that sort. Just give us like a teaser on what to expect from this album.
Cool. So this album, this is actually it's my debut album. It's my first album.
Yes, please.
And actually, it's going to be a completely instrumental album. Only for this one because I've dedicated so much of this year. This is actually, I would say, this album. It's called Vision. So the reason it's called Vision, it's long story short, it's about, well, what year is it? 2020, right?
2020, yes.
Do you know the line 2020 vision,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the vision thing, right? That's what came into my mind at first, and I didn't think about it too much until what happened with everything about the virus, at least in North America, and everything that's been going on. Let it be from like the Black Lives Matter movement, and everything,
yes,
right? And this is a time of realization rather than a time of isolation.
Wow.
And the vision thing is actually I was supposed to call it kind of like something along the lines of I, because
Okay.
I is reflecting on what is becoming bare, what is becoming clear and evident, and what we actually need to realize with things. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So there's kind of a more nuanced meaning to the actual word vision.
Vision.
And that's kind of my take on that, or what that is. That's literally what I thought about the word vision and why I chose the title to be that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And each thing kind of works, as far as the actual titles, they work to actually complete that description that I've actually given, right? So like there's a song on the album. I'm not going to give too many away. But there's a song on the album called Tabula Rasa, which means clean slate.
Okay.
Which is like a fresh start. You see what I'm saying? So that 2020 is the end of the decade, giving everyone kind of new time to actually think things out and etc. kind of thing. This is kind of what I'm saying. Like, so from the songs, they all have a deeper, nuanced meaning to them than what is perceived. And I wanted to explain that through instrumental rather than lyrically, only because I find if you really dig in, it's one heck of a trip kind of thing. It's one heck of a ride kind of thing. So, and these are more as relaxant. This is more of a relaxant rather than an aggressive and assertive album. Only because of the times and everything. I just want to basically show my view through my music. The amount of tracks. Can I say it? I would say, yeah. I would say there's more than 10.
Okay, let's keep it safe.
Yep.
Let's not give too much away.
Yeah. And yeah, no, it's gonna be a crazy album. I actually, I might also be doing and I don't know if I can say this. But a certain track on the album will be highlighted in a way. I'm not going to give out how or why, but might be highlighted. We'll keep it at that.
Okay.
But expect to have your eyes. I guess the word is, I don't know if it's the right word, but your eyes aroused as well as your ears. And
you're keeping us in the dark so much.
I'm not trying to give too much away, because I've dedicated I've dedicated my whole year to this album and everything, and like really tried to. So that's why I'm like trying to like not give too much away, but also like keep the intrigue, like the interest. You see what I'm saying?
I love that.
And you're awesome, but I wish I could tell you more. I really don't want to like tell.
No, it's fine.
But basically, I've dedicated my whole year to this album. This is kind of my experience through electronic music, and through hip hop and etc. Trying to celebrate those types of genres rather than just take them. You see what I'm saying? Because I as a producer, I work with everyone regardless of who they are. And because of that, I started to see that the beats I was making were really cool. So why don't I use those to my advantage and actually create music with them through my saxophone?
Wow.
Right. So that's kind of
crazy.
So that's kind of what I did to find myself out, because as a jazz performer, I've had to do jazz, funk, R&B, blues, rock, all the whole thing. And what I've done is I've taken all those genres, fused them with other genres that I'm actually working with now to actually create myself. And it ended up becoming this like R&B, hip hop, lo-fi thing, and that's kind of what to expect on the album. It's going to be, in my opinion, a very like, I would say this album is like, sit back, in the backyard or in a chair, in a lounge chair, and just kind of kind of listen to the experience and kind of be on like a roller coaster, be on the ride, you know. It's kind of like, you know, you can have a scotch or a whiskey or anything kind of by you, just listening and relaxing.
Just relax.
Yeah. So and that's kind of what this is about, basically.